Legalizing marijuana, absolutely not. I think we don't need any more intoxicants in this community. It seems to be something that's probably we can tax it, things like that. I don't see the point. I don't believe marijuana is a, quote, gateway drug to other things, but it's, once again, we have enough intoxicants, we have enough reasons for people to zone out and to be irresponsible. Marijuana is a psychoactive drug. It's a cumulative drug. It's something that there are some medical benefits from it that can be extracted and that can be used, but I am not for medical marijuana at all.
Thank you. Ms. Boscola.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because I was thinking about the other day. I was reading about it. I do that a lot, and I was saying, you can't, right now in Pennsylvania, we're not even close to talking about legalizing marijuana. We can't even get to the point where we're talking about medical marijuana. Let's talk about medical marijuana. If you go to the hospital and you're terminally ill or you're very seriously ill, you can get morphine and other drugs out there that are regimented by a doctor and monitored, right? And morphine is really potent, right? So I'm thinking, okay, if doctors can just prescribe morphine and it's monitored, what's wrong with marijuana? It's not as intense as morphine. So medical marijuana, I think there should be a debate on it. If it's monitored properly and it's for terminally ill patients, I probably don't have a problem with it. Don't even think about legalizing it, though, in this state.
Okay, speaking of things medical, how do each of you feel about keeping physicians in the state of Pennsylvania? And do you think we are in need of malpractice tort reform as part of a solution of making sure we have sufficient physician availability? Ms. Boscola, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, we've made some changes in the past when it came to tort reform that have actually started to make some real changes here in Pennsylvania as far as saving, our doctors. And you'll see me constantly vote in Harrisburg to do things to encourage our physician community. In fact, there are a lot more dollars being put toward medical schools in this Commonwealth because we recognize that we are losing doctors here in Pennsylvania to other states. What do? You need to start to have these institutions and then give abatement to doctors that stay in the area, give them loan forgiveness, for instance, if they stay, if they're educated here in Pennsylvania and then they work here in Pennsylvania, to help them with their loans, because it's really expensive if you're going to be a doctor. The education process is grueling, but also financially grueling. So I think we need to do everything we can in that department, but I did notice that there's 3 more medical schools that are vying for state funding, so I guess we might be an incubator for all those doctors coming in the future.
Okay, Mr. Connolly.
Well, tort reform is a big issue. There are some people who say, oh, it isn't much. Medical malpractice insurance is just a few percentage points. What they're not noticing is the defensive medicine. When you have a doctor who can very easily diagnose somebody, but has to put them through 5 other tests, because just in case they get in front of one of those great trial attorneys, and they say, well, this person had a complication. Did you do tests, 1, 2, 3, and 4? And they say, well, no. Well, if you did, would they possibly caught? Well, possibly. And all you're doing is you're racking up the cost of medicine, and you're making these doctors become so defensive instead of treating patients. And I've always believed that doctors, to become a doctor, you have to care. You can't, I don't believe you can do it for the money. Maybe some people can, and maybe there's a small percentage who do. But you have to really care to be a doctor. You have to go through the school, the residency, the internship, all the loans, everything else, to then have the legal sword of justice or some trial attorney looking for a $10 million payout hanging over your head to do what you believe in. I think that's wrong. I think we have to reform that.
Let me ask at this point in time if there was anyone in the audience who would like to actually ask a question from the audience if we haven't been sufficiently covering the questions that are of interest to you. Seeing no hands at the moment, we'll just ask a couple more questions and we'll wrap up. We do have a mayor in the audience. The Local Government Commission has been mandated by the State Senate to undertake a study of state mandates on local governments. And so my question is, what are your proposals for dealing with the habit of the state to pass unfunded mandates on to local governments as a way of addressing public policy. Mr. Connolly, would you like to start on that?
The question of unfunded public mandates. Well, part of what the problem we have in Pennsylvania is we have a spending problem, and mandates are nothing more than another symptom to the disease of the spending problem. Unfunded mandates, what we really need in Pennsylvania is we need a constitutional convention to address these things, because a lot of these things have evolved from the best of intentions. And one of the things that government doesn't realize is that the law of unintended consequences quickly follows the law of good intentions. So in fact, I think there's a road somewhere paved with good intentions. I don't even want to go there, but government mandates, it's a very complicated issue. I don't think it can be solved in a 2-minute discussion. But we have to step back and really look at where we've come from and where we're going, because otherwise we're going to join California and so many other states that have mandated their budgets into oblivion, and that's where we're going to be. We have to handle that. It's going to be tough.
Ms. Boscola?
Yeah, in the last several years, I've had a tendency in Harrisburg, every time there is a mandate placed on whether it's local government, school districts, our correctional system, to say what's the cost, and what's this going to cost our county, our school districts, our cities. And I think what Harrisburg needs to do more of is listen to those mayors, to those educators, to the judges who are sentencing people, and because of a mandate which made them lock somebody up, and maybe the judge might not have. I think we need to be more flexible in that area. Same with, the biggest one I have a problem with actually is No Child Left Behind. That was the biggest unfunded mandate by the federal government I've ever seen. They dictated so much to our local school districts, and property taxes skyrocketed, and yet they had no dollars behind the No Child Left Behind. Are they making inroads with No Child Left Behind? Yes, but that's the expense we made to make that happen, and to the federal government to put that tough mandate on school districts without no dollars at all, I think is totally wrong. So you'll see me constantly look at mandates that we're placing on cities and counties, local governments, and say no, and listen more to those that are in the situation that they have to deal with the city like the mayor does.